All right, guys. Today we are gonna be reacting to "She wants to be provided and protection, but she wasn't submit." Man. Okay, let's go.
And it's also a thing where people assume trad wives are going to always be submissive and just like let their partner steamroll over them all the time. And that's also not the case. Like there's so many variables in
Well,
all the
this all
relationship
depends on how
dynamics.
you want to define things, right? But tradition, like, how would you even define tradition? It's actually a hard word to define.
What a nuclear family looks like. The man works,
Well, I
pays
mean,
the
you
bills.
wouldn't define tradition as just being nuclear family. Tradition has a specific meaning.
In
right?
regards to dating, though,
Well, I mean, just in general, what would you say tradition is?
following what generations before you did.
Yeah, I think there's some truth. I don't think that captures it, but it kind of has the right idea to be charitable, right? Best way I heard this described was tradition would be experiments that cultures have done that work, right? That's kind of a thing that we would point to as being tradition, like Christmas, for instance. That seems to be kind of this experiment that the culture did, and it seems to work fine, right? It's a stressful time of the year, and we just can't seem to wait for it or wait for it to be over. But it's something that seems to work. Halloween, these different holidays, all sorts of different traditional kind of aspects of American culture, right? Or Western culture, biblical, etc. These are all experiments which work. So what happens when experiments start breaking down, like the liberal experiment, the progressive experiment? People start to look at the experiments that work, right? And they go, okay, we got to move back to those experiments because they worked. So that's what I think traditionalism is, right? So I think that the modern woman wants to have her cake and eat it too. Because at the time that marriages were working, women didn't have a fucking say, okay? That's the truth. You want to see the time where there was almost no divorce, right? We can show you a time when the happiness index was likely
They
happier.
couldn't file for divorce. So
They
does
could.
it count?
No, they could.
Like, so you're accounting for like past the
Yeah,
80s?
they could.
Okay.
They could show cause for divorce. Even the church granted divorce for infidelity, things like this. But even in the early 1920s, 1930s, right, 1940s, people were much happier. And everybody you ask in modernity,
Well, they could get a divorce, but they couldn't have
I've
a-
asked this question a million times. You think people were happier in the 1950s as you are right now? Almost every time the answer is yes. I think they were. Interestingly enough, women couldn't have the credit cards, though, right? Women couldn't have. They didn't have all this suffering. They didn't have all this shit. Very strange to me, right? Why it is they didn't have any of these kind of feminist ideals, and yet seem to be far happier when they didn't have all this say. So I think when people say tradition, they don't really mean tradition. They mean I want modernity with this kind of LARPing aspect. The LARPing aspect being, yay, I get to stay at home and not fucking do shit, right? Yay, this is great. But I don't think that's traditional. What's traditional about that? And tradition is supposed to be that you obey. That's supposed to be the tradition.
Damn, Andrew's killing it, man.
The tradition's not supposed to be egalitarianism in the household. That's modernity. It's the
I don't know
opposite
about
of tradition.
obeying, but
Yeah, right. But why not? Because just the word makes you sick because you've been completely brainwashed, just been worked on your entire life that obedience to a man, you're every bit as good as him, even though it has nothing to do with good.
there was one of those burr moments.
It has nothing to
I
do
think-
with
I
good,
think-
right?
Well, maybe it's my social programming, but just my personality type in general. But like obey, not a fan. But I am a fan of doing the cooking and the cleaning and all of the
Nah,
things
nah,
That you like to do.
exchange.
Right. But that's
Yeah,
not
because
obedience.
exactly, I was about to say, you're already doing that. We're not looking for that. That's just a little bit of the side. That's the French fries and the on the piece of bread from the sandwich in the diner, right? That's a side. The most important one is respect and obedience, guys. Do you guys agree with me? Let me know in the comment section below. Do you guys agree with me?
I like to cook.
Yeah, but it's not obedience for you to do things you like to do. It's obedience for you to do
Yeah, but-
things that you don't like to do when you're told to do them. That's obedience.
But we could also just say that the nuclear family dynamic works better, and you don't also have to be like totally subservient to your
No, it
partner.
It doesn't work. What
Doesn't.
breaks it down is the lack of subservience from the woman. The lack of obedience from the woman is what breaks it almost every single time. This is why, then you tell me, why are they filing for divorce at such high rates? Why are they pushing back against men at such high rates? They're completely disobedient in their relationships.
Looks like you have something on this. Go ahead.
No.
I mean,
You agree?
Oh, she's going through it, Brian. No, Brian. She's going through it. She's going through it. Look at her. She has tattoos all over her arm. She has a red hair that she's not. She's clearly not a red hair, even though she has red hair. She's not. But she's going through it right now. This is going through it. She's like, God damn. There we go.
for a few reasons. I don't know.
You want to articulate those?
On what specific points? Like
Oh my
Obeying,
obeying. Okay, so I mean,
submission.
I don't know. If somebody wants to obey, I just
It's not obedience.
yeah.
It's like, I'll do what you want if I want to. It's like, well, where does the obey part come in?
Right.
Well, I'll follow you as soon as I think that I need to follow you when I decide that it's okay to follow you. Then I'll
Ryan
follow
from
you.
The Office. But no, but like maybe obedience doesn't need to factor in though. Maybe we could just get back to men being providers and leaders and women being mothers and caretakers.
Oh, yeah, great.
And
You
taking
get
She's still looking for that egalitarian. You guys notice? She's trying to equate his role and her role being equal. The same thing.
stress off of the men by handling the things that they don't have the time to do if they're
Yeah, that's
providing.
great. You get all the perks and the benefits.
I mean, not all, like I don't think most women also want to cook, clean, and
Oh
bear
no!
babies.
Oh, that's so hard to cook and clean. Look at this.
I don't think it's hard if someone else
So you get
pays bills.
so you get to stay home all day. You get the luxury of being at home with your own children. You don't have to outsource that if you're not lazy and you actually homeschool. And if you're not, your kid's going somewhere else for 8 hours a day. Literally 8 hours a day while you're at home. Oh my God!
No,
this
I
is-
literally
this
agree
is-
with you on
this.
this.
This is terrible. This is horrible.
It is hard.
It's horrible what's happening to women. It's like, no, it's not hard. And
It is hard.
on top of
We
that,
can't totally
you
just
say,
say
okay,
that.
I get all the perks, all the benefits, but I don't want to do that obedience.
I have a question.
Fuck
Dang,
that
that was-
obedience thing. And it's like,
And I'm
so
not
that's a
saying
pretty
that-
raw deal for men.
But like also like I can't even imagine a situation where one would need to be obedient because I'm like looking at my boyfriends and like
Boyfriends,
ex-husband,
yeah.
like, well,
that's your
maybe.
problem. That's your problem. You already gone. That's it for you. You're going to be the 2030. You want to be one of the statistics. You think because you're, kind of youngish, I guess, like 29, 31, I don't know, and you look skinny, like you have these options. A lot of these simps, libertarian guys, I mean, this is one of those, I forgot to tell you guys. There was a female. Remember the girl that she went viral because she said that she will never accept like a coffee date, right? She only will accept like a very expensive date. She happened to do a recent video about her not being able to have eggs, or the eggs that she has, they're already rotten, or they're not good, something like that. Those lines. She started crying. She's crying means that the literally the acknowledgement of the wall hitting her heart. That's what it means, guys. That's what it means. Now we can sit down here and talk about these things, right? Or we can simply just admit that maybe we're missing something. Maybe we wanna go above men when we cannot literally do it, guys, unless men allow us to do so. And she's having that problem because I don't think that wall has hit yet, but it will.
When it matters, that's when.
But like, so give me an example of like what?
That's what I was gonna say. Like, what
In what way
extent
would
is
we need to-
multiple
what
examples.
Like, we
like
could
do you
talk
think
about
you can beat
intercourse,
your
for
wife?
example.
Like, do you
Ah,
think that
what?
that's acceptable?
No.
Okay, but like, to what extent do you think she should obey though? Like, what if she disobeys you? Then
Within
what do
the
you do?
confines of reason.
Like, so just give me an
She has to
example.
be obedient within the confines of reason. Beating your wife would be sinful.
Okay, well, if she doesn't obey you, what do you do? What would you do?
Not
What,
congruent.
for disobedience?
Yeah.
Well, the same things that you would do right now. You would try reason, right? You would explain what their duties are, and you would go to your community, in this case, the church, to see if you could get this reconciled, right? Because it's a problem.
And what if she continues to disobey?
Well, then there's going to be extreme problems inside of the marriage, and it's going to be a lot of fucking misery. That's what.
But marriage takes work between both people.
Yeah, I'm not disputing that.
If, like somebody doesn't
Wow,
want to do
this
something.
gaslighting
I still want an
is
example.
crazy.
There's no disputing. Well, okay. I'm fine giving those examples, right? But when the person asks me a question, I have to give that answer, then I have to give that answer. Now we've circled back to this one. Okay, so
Exactly. circle back.
discipline.
That's right.
Discipline is a great one, right? What if your husband wants to discipline? He wants to use a belt. Can he? Yeah. See,
I mean, I don't
it's
really.
so easy.
Honestly, I'm not. I'm gonna get so much shit for this. I'm not totally against spanking. Like, I think it's got to be age appropriate, and it's got to be not.
Yeah, but why do you get to decide that, not him?
Because they're half mine, and it is also my job to protect
Yeah, but I
them.
mean, okay, again.
But I guess that's one example.
This would be
Sure.
disobedience immediately. It's like,
Okay.
okay, no, I think that it is the right age. No, I don't. What if he wants to
Oh,
take
yeah,
him?
I'll disobey.
Yeah, exactly. So you'll move into the kind of like disobedient road, and so this is an easy example. Schooling, extensions of what types of things you'd want them to do. For, let's say, you want them to play music, or you want them to have these curriculums. Maybe you're disagreeing on those things. Ultimately, somebody's going to have to ultimately be the decider, I think. Again, but when I'm talking about disobedience specifically, it's like, no, you don't get to beat your wife. That's insane. Doesn't comport with reason, right? But you can use shaming tactics and utilize the church to assist you in kind of moving and counseling the relationship.
Great comment. You have a problem being submissive, but demand chivalry and breadwinners. Hey, shout out to Alvin, man. He knocked it out of the park with that comment, man. That's completely true. They want the protection, they want the money, they want chivalry, they want all this privilege. But I want to disobey. I cannot be submissive. I mean, these people want the goat and the rope. The goat and the rope. They cannot have one with the other, huh? They want all the privileges with zero accountability. Crazy, huh?
The right direction.
This is actually, it's below the threshold, but Alvin Sam, this is a great super chat. You have a problem being submissive, but demand chivalry and breadwinners.
Well, that's what I was pointing out already, right? Is that, like, you get to stay at home. You get all the perks of this, but no, as long as I keep getting what I want, you do what I say.
Well, I just think for me personally, it's circumstantial, and I'm willing to budge on a lot of things. Like, I'm not
Nah.
probably as combative as maybe I'm making myself seem. But you're not just gonna, especially because I have kids and they're my kids. So maybe my perspective on it's a little bit different.
There we go. She's a stepmom. There you go, guys. A father cannot discipline. A stepdad cannot discipline their kids. So the kids are going to run game on him. So
If we had
there you go.
a shared child. But I'm willing to budge on a lot of things.
Yeah, maybe, right? But that's not really the point. So the point really isn't reduced to, if I think that I should submit because it sounds reasonable, I will. That's beside the point. The point is supposed to be when it doesn't seem reasonable to you to submit, that you will. That's the point.
You said something about the woman benefits, I guess, most if the man's the breadwinner providing, and
Yep.
one thing I want to comment on is if the woman is providing homeschooling to the child, let's just say it's that sort of scenario, because right now a lot of people have issues with the school system.
Yep.
Well, then the man also is benefiting because that wife is capable of providing schooling for the child so that they don't get indoctrinated in the school systems that
Consider
could
this
be
to be the bare minimum. The
could
bare
be
minimum
con-
of duty and responsibility of a good mother is that if she's enabled by her husband to stay at home and homeschool her kids, then she should. That should be a duty. This is not.
Good point.
When I see this idea, it's like a top. It's like somebody spinning a top. It makes no sense.
It was at this moment that the rest of the girls on the panel realized they were effed up. That's what I said. That's what I said. That's why the silence is speaking so much. Guys, the silence is speaking so much. You guys have no idea how much that silence is speaking. They figure out, I think we effed down with this one. I think we don't have, I think we're done. I think so. Right here. That's why they're not talking more often. Good.
To me, it's like,
Super chat, whatever.
look at this great thing I'm doing. No, this is a baseline duty. It's a baseline duty. You know the public school's fucked. You know they're indoctrinating your kids. You know they're doing horrible things to them, right? You know this. It's like, so you have a duty, if you can, to stay home and homeschool your kids. You have this duty. I consider that to be a baseline. I would not consider that to be something in addition that you're doing in the benefit of your own offspring.
Agreed,
But
but most
if-
women aren't doing it though.
Let's just say he marries someone who isn't capable of doing that. I would love to be able to homeschool my kids. I think it's something that's necessary right now, considering everything that's going on.
100%.
But I just think that it's unfair to say that only the woman's benefiting then from the man being the breadwinner. There's a dual
No,
benefit
I'm not saying
there.
only. I'm not, never. Okay, so I don't usually deal in monoliths. Sometimes because there are some all statements which are okay, but I don't usually deal in monoliths. So it's not that there's only the benefit to the woman. I'm saying the vast majority of the benefit is to the
Okay,
woman.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Right? The vast majority is to the woman. And the ability, I think, is a gift. I think a man's given a woman a gift that she can be able to stay at home with her own kids. Because I got to tell you right now, you're a single mom, for instance. I bet you wish you were able to stay at home with your kids.
100%.
There we go.
Like,
Ah.
that's a massive gift.
But
to
why spending hours just going back and forward for what reason? For what reason? Just to show him that you know how to talk, I guess? Like, this makes no sense, folks. Am I crazy? Am I crazy here? I might be crazy.
give them
But not enough to deal with
with actually
a
submitting.
shitty husband.
Yeah, but think about what you just said here, right? See, that to me that's also bizarre to me. I don't understand that. Self-sacrifice for the purpose of your children. I thought you were supposed to be the nurturing ones.
So yeah. Okay, but my situation's a little bit different. I'm
not saying you have to put up with physical abuse, things
Right,
like that,
right.
but the concession of just obedience for a better life for your kids, it just seems like it's such an easy thing to concede on, and yet so many women are like, I just couldn't possibly. I just couldn't possibly
But
do
there
that.
are provider men who are happy to involve you in every discussion and like there be compromise.
Why is there always this idea that like because the man ultimately decides, that means a woman's never getting consulted?
Right, but for example, like you talked about the spanking thing, like that might be one thing that I take a stand on, and he may be like, okay, on this one, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that men who like he's suddenly just because of that one instance where he didn't put his foot down.
No,
and,
sure,
you know.
he can make a concession to a reasonable suggestion. Of course, there's nothing wrong with that. Has nothing again to do with the fact though that what if he didn't? So it's not that, okay, you made a great point about spanking, and he's like, you know what, that's a really good point, and I think that we'll do that. The question is, what if he doesn't? If he goes, I know you think that's a great point, but you're fucking wrong, and I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Right? That's
I
where...
would probably concede on a lot of other things. That is not one.
Right. So it's the idea of the concession with the obedience that, like, you still know better. And so that's why these relationships, I think, break down.
But yeah, I understand. At the same time, when guys get that kind of power, we have to be responsible to make sure we don't overuse that power. That's my only caveat. But let me know what you guys think. I'll see you next